We've got this mini game footage and advertisement and shenanigans going on here with Raid Shadow Legends showing us Elaine, a Raid character, kind of moving around in an auto battler fashion like Vampire Survivors or something. This is part of an ad or a teaser for upcoming content, and this is definitely something I wanted to cover. So yeah, first of all, this tactic has actually become pretty popular in the last 4 or 5 years with mobile games. What they'll do is show their game in a different way, partly because of a few reasons. You've got third-party marketing agencies that get hired to produce ads, so they'll just produce like a random gaming ad showing like a character from the game, and it's just meant to appeal to mass gamers and not necessarily show accurate gameplay. And then also, secondly, you kind of want to show your game in a different way because it can appeal to a new and different audience. For instance, you've got your Raid Shadow Legends player base. If you show them a game like this, that's more of an active battler where you move around with high density, you might reach a new audience of people who like games like Vampire Survivors, and now they go, wait a minute, I didn't know Raid was like that. I will definitely go download that and give it a try. And even though many of them will download the game and be like, wait a minute, the game is nothing like that, all that matters is you rope in a small percentage of those that will end up playing long term, and you might find a few whales out of that, so it ends up in the big picture being worth it. And personally, I think it's a little bit of a lame move to just blatantly show your game in a different way than it gets played, but it's possible that Polarium might argue, hey, you never know, this kind of a game mode or mini game or feature or PvP or PvE content may be coming down the road in Raid Shadow Legends. But I would still say, I mean, it's not in the game yet, and you're saying download the game to play this. So it's definitely a little bit deceitful when you show your game in a different light than it actually gets played. But it leads into another discussion. Is this a mode that would come to Raid Shadow Legends? And if it did, would it be successful? And you know what? I think if they implemented it well, it might actually be crazy enough to work. Obviously, we all know how viral Vampire Survivors went, and it's a big reason why I wanted to start making my own game as a concept to do a different spin on the Vampire Survivors type of bullet hell genre. I wanted to take that and then also blend in the game genre that I love with ARPGs and some of those old school Diablo games. So I was thinking in my head, why don't I make a game that blends like Diablo 1 and Vampire Survivors and see if it's any good? So personally, I kind of like games like this. I think they're fun to just log in and play for 15-20 minutes and mess around on, move around with high density and kill a bunch of stuff. And if Raid implemented this where you could do a certain amount of runs per day and you would get tomes or silver or whatever from being able to complete higher and higher stages of this as you develop certain heroes that you like to take in. They've got Elaine here, obviously, but if you had if you could bring some of the champions that you summon in Raid into this mode and then play with them with specific kits and do a build like in Vampire Survivors and all that, honestly, I think if they implement it pretty well, people would probably try it out. But there's already so many things to do in Raid. Raid's basically an MMO at this point. So if they were going to do something like this, it would need to be a quick hit, in and out, like I'm going to do this 10 minutes a day if I want to, but I don't have to kind of thing. Just as like a fun type of thing to mess around on. But it also says PvP here. Now that would be crazy if Raid had like a live move around PvP. It would be imbalanced as hell. There's no way, like, it would just come down to who's like doing more damage and moving around. But this, it wouldn't surprise me if they end up doing this. And I know Raid was talking about, we've got massive PvE content coming before the end of the year. It's gonna blow your mind. It'll be some of the biggest PvE content we've ever done. So would it be this? Would Plarium, from their point of view, consider a mode like this completely separate from how we're used to playing Raid, massive PvE content? I doubt it. I think this is probably just an advertising trick to reach a new audience and get new players who maybe have already passed on Raid a few times to be like, wait a minute, I didn't know Raid had that. I kind of like games like that. Maybe I should download Raid and give it a try. I bet it's probably just an advertising ploy to reach that kind of person. And I think if you're going to have something like this, there should at least be like a pop-up, you know, that flashes or some sort of small print that says, you know, this game mode is possible in the future, but is not currently representative of Raid Shadow Legends. Like, you know how when you see commercials on TV and when they're advertising like diet pills or something, they have to put like results may vary, results not guaranteed. This pill is not a magic drug that will automatically make you thin. They have to put like those caveats. I feel like we need to get to a point where this is legislated in a similar way, where some of these advertisements need to be a little bit more honest, or at least have some small print that clarifies things if you're going to show stuff like this. Or another famous example is like fast food commercials, and you'll see like a McDonald's Big Mac and it just looks insanely juicy and delicious, and then it'll say something like, this is not the actual size of the sandwich and your sandwich will look different or something like that. But you know how it's always different than when you actually get in person. And this is kind of a similar concept. You're trying to make your game look different, appeal to a new audience, look better, and look even more crazy than it actually is. But you know what? If Raid did come out with a mode like this, it would definitely get me to try it out. I would be like, I mean, I gotta cover this. I gotta do content on this. I gotta dive in and grind this and see if I like it. But that's me. I'm gonna have to do a poll on the channel and ask if you all would enjoy a mode like this, or if you would think it's an absolute meme and it's a trash idea. I honestly don't know. I think it could be pretty split 50-50. I think you'd have some people that are like, yeah, why not? I mean, at this point, Raid's 5 years old. Let's just throw some darts at the board. Let's try some crazy stuff. But you'd also probably get that other camp of people that are like, no, this is not Raid Shadow Legends. This is a completely separate game. This would be like putting Hearthstone in StarCraft. Like, it just doesn't even make sense. It's blending two completely different worlds. So I may host that poll over on the community tab and see how the voting shakes out. So yeah, I'm still here in the Raid Shadow Legends scene. I'm still talking with like Hell Hades and Saphira and a bunch of different people in the Raid community. And in one of our meetings, this was something that came up and I was like, no way, I gotta see what this is all about and see this mini game that Raid had in an advertisement. And then I've also been checking out that new mobile game, Warcraft Rumble, the Blizzard iteration of Clash Royale. I've got a dedicated channel to it. I'll link to it down below in the pinned comment if you want to head on over there and see that content if you're interested at all in Warcraft Rumble. But then I was also going to, on this channel, do some sort of a concept for a video like, can Blizzard compete with Plarium? Like, can Blizzard release some sort of a collector type game? And do I think Warcraft Rumble will be bigger, more successful, bigger, smaller, whatever, how it will compare to Raid, and try to predict how it's going to do compared to Raid's revenue and Raid's kind of player base and popularity on the internet and the velocity of the traffic, and just kind of compare some of those metrics that I usually like to look at when I'm comparing two different games. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on some of the stuff around this ad and this secondary game mode, this move around bullet hell Raid Shadow Legends kind of style, but would definitely be interested to hear your thoughts down below as well. So I appreciate all of you. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Peace.